Just the ability to sit and talk, no pressure and just have a reasonable conversation. We live in a world today that is there's a lot of tension. People don't want to hear other people's opinion. Jay allows you just to talk, and purposely leaves out politics. And I'm okay with that.
Como se va and que pasa? Welcome to the In the Pocket with JayBo show, and I'm your host, Jay Boudoin. This evening, we have a special edition of the show that we'll be doing, and it's a wrap-up of Season 2. And joining me today is a very special guest who is also our marketing director for the In the Pocket with JayBo podcast. She is the CEO and founder of AI Infused Communications based out of Houston, Texas, and that is Miss Kathleen Tapia. Hi, Kathleen. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so
Good to
much for
see you.
having me. Good to see you too.
Absolutely.
How you
So
doing?
I'm doing fine. I can't believe we're at the end of Season 2 already. This is crazy how fast things are going, man. It's like a freight train.
I know, it's been great.
I love it. We just wrapped up episode 10, which is one of our most serious episodes, and it's with Ryan Duplichin out of Lafayette, Louisiana. He's a very accomplished drummer, and he's also a general manager of an oil and gas offshore service company. And he talks about recovery from addiction. And it was a really serious episode, but I think a good way to end the season, especially during the holidays, if we can do something to help somebody. So I'm really proud of that effort, and that'll be dropping on December 10th. So make sure y'all catch that one too. And while we're talking about that, please make sure you follow or subscribe on all of the platforms that we're on. We're primarily on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. We also advertise the show on Facebook and on X, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. So we're all over the place. There's no need to miss us. We're constantly advertising on all these venues. So we look forward to you joining the show with us. So thank you very much. Keep that in mind. Okay, so with this show that we're doing this evening, the roles are going to be reversed a little bit. And I think you've drawn up some questions that you're going to have for me.
Good.
But before we get into all of that, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company, please?
Sure, yeah. Thanks so much for the opportunity. So I started AI infused communications, decided to, as much as sometimes I don't like AI, lean into the AI wave that's been happening now. It's kind of like what we saw a few years ago with social media, the fight for engagement. So it's kind of the fight for the AI right now. So I get to do a lot of really cool things with a lot of really great businesses to automate their services and kind of make things a little bit more sleek and approachable for their customers or their clients. So it's been really great. It's been a fun ride, and I really enjoy being a business owner, working with cool organizations like your own.
Excellent, excellent. And I can't tell you how happy and honored we are to have you on board with our team, and really looking forward to a brand refresh that we're just initiated. And Kathleen's leading that effort. And she actually sent me the first few proofs today of design. I think I like all three of them, but I need to narrow it down on what we're going to do. So we'll talk about that towards the end of the show today. One thing I do want to ask you that's kind of comical. So how long ago did you start in your business?
So it was almost 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Okay, cool. And this is the part of like, why did you end up going into the private sector from where you were?
So I worked in healthcare communications for about 10 years.
Okay.
And it was a lot of fun, craziness. I had COVID craziness that I had to work
Right.
with. So it was a lot of fun, but definitely started realizing with the help of AI, I could streamline about 40 hours of work in 1 hour of work. So it just made sense. I could kind of have a lot more pots on the stove, if you will, cooking different things at once with the help of AI. And it definitely doesn't replace humans. I will touch on that on our episode. But yeah, it can be a really helpful tool and in promoting different types of ideas.
Excellent. Excellent. And Kathleen just alluded to something that I want to make sure everybody knows, that she will be the first guest of our season 3, which kicks off in January. And we're really looking forward to that. And Kathleen, if you would tell our audience what we're going to be talking about for that show.
So, we're going to be talking about the ethical considerations of AI. So, this is something that has fascinated me since I was back in college. I wrote my thesis capstone project on automated driving and the ethical considerations of that. And ever since then, I've been using AI for a long time. People have just started hearing about it in the last couple of years, but I've been using it for over 10 years. It's been around, but it is growing exponentially. There's a lot of really cool things in that space.
Excellent.
But
Excellent.
yeah.
Go ahead, please.
No, but I'm excited to ask you questions because I feel
I
like
know.
you're
I know. I think I'm
interviewer.
switching chairs today, man.
It's exciting.
Hey, yes, indeed. Yeah, we're actually, I'm going to be the interviewee and you're going to be the interviewer today. And I also want to let our guests know that we have 2 special guests that will be chiming in, calling in today. We were able to talk to their agents and arrange for a few minutes of their very valuable, busy time today. So we'll be getting to them in a little bit. But Kathleen, I can't let this escape. I always ask my guests icebreaker questions. So I'm just going to ask you one, and it's going to be a fun one. Tell me, what is your favorite month of the year and why?
Oh, that's a good one. It's gotta be June because that's my
June.
birthday, but also it's always the best month for me. I love June. And living in Houston, people are like, oh, it's so hot in June, but I love it. I'll like lay out like a lizard.
I like that. And I'll tell you what, I've had many people this was the 21st episode of the show. Many people on all these episodes that have said their favorite month is their birthday month.
Yeah,
So I just think
exactly.
that's a kick. My birthday's in July, but my favorite month, I think, is like late November. It's not a month, it's a combo. Late November, early December, like it is right now, because it's just
Yeah.
you're winding down. I love Thanksgiving and I like Christmas. The older I get, I don't like the heat as much. So this is a good time of the year for me. So I love it. So
Yeah. It's
anyway,
already too cold for me outside.
so,
So
so Miss Kathleen, it's June.
yes, it is.
All right. Okay. So let's switch our chairs right now
Let's
and
do
I'll
it.
let you start taking over.
Okay. So when you look back at season 2 as a whole, what is the first moment or guess that comes to your mind?
Tell you what, it's got to be from episode 8. And that was a gathering of 4 really good friends from high school. And we talked about a classmate of ours that passed away very unexpectedly about 2 years ago. He was a equipment manager for our high school. He was an equipment manager at LSU. He was an equipment manager at Clemson University. And He's he had ties to University of Florida and Tulane as well. So he touched a lot of people's lives. He helped take care of a lot of people, and just a sweetheart of a guy. He got married late in life. He had a son who's about, I think, 10 or 11 years old now. So that was a tough situation. And it was about 2 years ago he passed away. And for me to be able to gather those 4 guys, and believe me, Kathleen, I could have picked 20 different scenarios of 4 different guys to do a show about. And his name was Donald. His nickname was Truck, Donald Truck Hemel. His nickname came after Leonard Truck Robinson, who played basketball back in the late 70s. We were all big fans of his. But just to be able to talk about his memory and celebrate his life and what he was able to accomplish by having such a positive effect on people throughout that time, through sports mainly, sports and fellowship, was just it gave me a huge sense of accomplishment to be able to do that I was able to lead an effort to give back to something. And I would not have been able to do this without talking to his sister Renee, who was very key and gave me the thumbs up to go ahead and do this. So it was really a heart touching episode. It's my highest viewed episode, almost by double the views. So it was really just something very deep and sentimental to me. And I want to thank, Kevin Prestonberg, Theron Vincent, Wayne LeBlanc, and Brian Bainesfather, my old high school alumni buddies, for participating in that. It wasn't easy, some of the discussion, but, we were laughing, half crying, and, but it was a tribute to him. So it made me feel really good to be able to do that.
That's awesome. We could all be so lucky to have a legacy like that. And
Without a
it was
doubt.
really cool to see you talking with, so many different people. Like you said, it was kind of like, old friends just getting back together again. And it was just really cool to see that discussion. So,
Without
what
a
made this
Yeah.
season different from season one for you?
Actually, quite a few things. Two of the main things was the technology improvement because we started out with just the audio podcast of recording it on my phone. And I want to thank Jerry Griffin so much, our lead singer with the Bayou Junction Band. She was the first volunteer in season one, episode one. She did outstanding. I interviewed some of our other bandmates at the time. And then about episodes 7 or 8, I went to video, and my oldest son, Casey, got me a camera, the one I'm using right now. So I'm a Brio camera, and it's worked out great. And so the technology is a big improvement. And from season one to season two, I'm talking more about subjects versus interviewing people. And I really enjoyed a part about talking about different topics, what's going on, maybe that's important to people. Also the nostalgia value of, because I'm 61 and my main target is the older Gen Xers, the Generation Jones crew, and the younger, I guess the younger boomers, which is in that Generation Jones, and hitting some of the millennials too. But that's my target audience, and it's a lot geared towards New Orleans, Louisiana, and Houston and Texas. So the reach has been great. The technology's improved. I think the content and the quality that we're putting out has improved, and it's only going to get better in season three. So to me, those are the big needle movers as far as between the two seasons as a comparison goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like how you say you're talking about topics now because so many of the topics you cover are just really great, and you can
Right.
tell that the audience is really enjoying it.
Well, when I advertise it on mainly on TikTok and on Instagram now, which I'd never been a part of. I actually need to thank you for getting me on Instagram because I wasn't doing it, and then you talked me into doing it. And so using those means, YouTube Shorts, the Reels on Facebook, the Reels on TikTok, and on X have been just great brand awareness venues to use for me. So that's the big difference there,
Absolutely.
and it's fun. So it's a
Yeah,
lot of fun.
and
I'm
you
I'm
enjoy
having a
it.
ton of fun.
Well, that's exactly what we want to see.
Right on.
What was a conversation from this season that genuinely surprised you?
I want to say when I was talking to the Hintz brothers for their episode, and it was kind of a heart touching moment with them because they were talking about their journey, and they're about a year and a half apart, but they ended up in the same grade. They both were outstanding football players, athletes, and both military officers, one in the Army, one in the Air Force, and very, of course, graduated both with advanced education and, undersized ball players in college, and they made it. Jimmy actually dressed out for LSU and went on the field, which was amazing. And so they talked about when their parents divorced when they were younger, and they didn't understand when their parents sat them down to tell them they were kids. And they both thought it was because they were eating too much food.
Oh,
And it was just wow, and they're like, "We won't eat as much food, man, y'all just stay together." It was really j and I've been knowing these guys for years, and I had no clue about all that, and Sean ended up living with his mom and Jimmy with his dad, and man, it was just kind of a heartbreaking thing to hear, but the way they overcame those challenges and succeeded in life as they've done was really a testament to their discipline and their focus and having to do a lot of things to count on each other and independently. And I really thought it was just an amazing story. But that story about they thought they were just eating too much food, man, that got me. I was like, man, wow,
that's
you know,
so sweet.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that had to be that moment right there.
It's crazy how many things like that happen to us when we're a child will impact us in our, life, you know?
Absolutely, yeah, and not just yourself. When you tell the story, it has an impact on other people as well,
Right.
and it may change a situation, it may lighten up a mood, it may, give a lessons learned kind of, activity to take place that might not have been there before,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Was there a moment in season 2 that changed the way you think about something?
Yes, because it would had and I got it written down. One of my favorite episodes was, let's see, episode 5, and that was with, Ronald George and Everett Armstrong, and it was co-hosted by my buddy Big Terry Broussard, and we all go to the same gym in the morning. Ronald's 71, Everett's in his late 50s, and Terry's 69, and you wouldn't know these guys' ages, believe me. They're all studs in the gym working out, and believe me, we all talk, a lot of smack around there too, but we motivate each other and everything. With Ronald, the 71-year-old gentleman, Ronald, just a sweetheart of a guy. If you ever seen the movie, we nicknamed him Bumpy Johnson because you got to greet him when you go in the gym like the old mafia days, man. Because he's always watching who's there and who's doing what. Ronald gave me a quote in the episode. He said, "I'm not trying to add years to my life. I'm trying to add life to my years I have left." And that just really resonated with me. And I thought that was an amazing quote. And we all said that needs to go on a t-shirt. So it was a really deep quote. And I've repeated it many times. But when I do give him credit though for it. And so that was a really, really a cool part about that as far as that's concerned.
Love that. Which episode felt the most meaningful for you as a host?
Well, that's a two-part answer, and it's a simple one. And believe me, I really appreciate all the guests I have on the shows that they've made a difference in me. I've learned so much, but the two that are closest to me with everything are the episodes I did with my sons. And I'm going to reach over into season 1 for a second, the last episode, season 1, episode 10, with my oldest son, Casey Boudoin, who's got his MBA from University of New Orleans, UNO. My youngest son, Seth, who got his undergrad from LSU, and he was the one who was a drumline captain at LSU. So to be able to do those episodes with my two sons, and they're 100% supported me in what I'm doing with the podcast. And I'm also a bass player in a band, and they both have been to see me a couple of times and very supportive of that. And I just want to say to be able to have a podcast with my sons individually, I'm beyond words proud of them. They had some challenging times growing up when their mother and I divorced, and they made it through it. And again, they had a stepdad with their mom and a stepmom with Becky with me, and they really shined in their accomplishments. And again, just to have them on there and to talk about their journeys to what they did, because my oldest son got his MBA while he was working full time, an executive MBA, and my youngest son, being able to make drumline captain at LSU from where he grew up at was just, I just can't tell you how proud I am of both of them. So it was really a cool thing to be able to do that.
It means a lot that they're supporting their dad's hobby.
Absolutely. And my wife supports it big time. Her only question was when I started is, how much is this going to cost? So I tell you what, I think we got somebody that wants to join in for the show here for a second. Mr. Jimmy Hintz. And we want to welcome to the show Jimmy Hintz, who is also a guest in season 2. And also we have a big announcement. Jimmy has agreed to be a In the Pocket with JayBo contributor going forward. So Jimmy, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, but he's paying me in Troy Cotton dollars, which means they're worthless. That's it. But yes,
Kathleen, I got to pay in real dollars, and Jimmy, I got to pay in Troy Cotton dollars.
Exactly. Yeah, I get paid on a hope and a prayer. But hey, excited to be
Right.
part of the podcast here. It was a great opportunity this year. Jay sat down with both me and my brother, got to tell our West Bank story from Avondale, Louisiana to a different world here in Texas. Sean lives in North Louisiana. Jay was an incredible host, made us feel at home, talked us through everything. And although we didn't get as many views as we wanted, I'm still trying to pay my brother to get those people offshore to, kind of do some clickbait and get us some more watches so we can move up the In the Pocket rating system.
Getting that top 5, right, Kathleen?
Yeah, slightly competitive, just saying. But
Right.
but no, excited and look forward to the future of In the Pocket with JayBo. And we did a couple of spots over the weekend while at a Archbishop Shaw football game. And there's a lot of buzz about the podcast, a lot of buzz about the future, and maybe doing a little bit of Archbishop Shaw stuff every once in a while. And I think that's going to help grow both the podcast and Archbishop Shaw and so forth.
What he's talking about, Kathleen, is our high school, which is Archbishop Shaw High School in New Orleans, where we both graduated from back in the early 80s. Kathleen saw the little video spot. I sent it to her, the one you did. That she was like, "Who's that guy? He did pretty good."
Completely off the cuff. So it was all good.
And Kathleen, you gotta round people up and get somebody to video it and everything outside of the ball game. So I know Jimmy's got that dog in him, so I knew he'd get it done. So thanks, Jimmy. But Jimmy, I did share one thing from your podcast with Kathleen and some questions because we're doing a season 2 recap right now, and she was asking me about a heart touching moment from season 2, and I said I got to tell you that the one had to be when Jimmy and Sean were telling a story about when their parents sat them down and let them know that unfortunately that they were going to be splitting up, and y'all were both kids and y'all thought it was because y'all ate too much food. And I'm like, man, I said that had to be the most heart touching moment, not just season 2, but to date. So, but that was definitely number one by far in my book. And I told her we've been knowing each other since we were teenagers, early teens, and I didn't know a couple of those things about y'all, but just that really caught my attention when we were talking about it.
True story, JayBo, and
Yep.
Part of life and helped develop us into who we are.
Yep, and both of you and Sean both very accomplished, and I can't be more proud to be friends with you guys, and what y'all have done. Both former military officers, both former college football players, and not some big college, but a small college where y'all had to go with hardly a nickel in your pocket and made it and grinded through a lot of things. And we grew up in a kind of a tough area, so it was really cool to be a part of that whole process. So, what did you enjoy the most during the podcast?
Just the ability to sit and talk, no pressure, and just have a reasonable conversation. We live in a world today that is there's a lot of tension. People don't want to hear other people's opinion. Jay allows you just to talk, and purposely leaves out politics. And I'm okay with that. I'm a very opinionated guy, don't get me wrong, but I enjoy just having a conversation everyone. And Jay did a phenomenal job too.
Kathleen, do you have a question for Jimmy at all? Or?
Well, I am curious to know, there are a lot of people, I guess, who have cut ties with people in their family. I'm curious to know about your relationship with your brother and how that has strengthened throughout the years, how you rely on him.
Yeah, well, that's also sometimes a little rocky conversation as well. But for the most part, Sean and I are the Hintz brothers and always will be.
Right.
And so we're very close. We're exactly 1 year old, like to the month. And parents raised us as literally twins, dressed us the same. I mean, we're very close. We do have a sister that there is little bit of a gap there and some estrangement, but we've always remained pretty close.
Well, they are definitely awesome guys and definitely in the top 10% of just being accomplished everyday people that graduated from our high school back in New Orleans at Archbishop Shaw High School. Jimmy, I know your agent was real tough with me, man. He said you had a limited window, you were available. But brother, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to be a contributor to the show going forward. I know you're going to be a co-host in season 3 when we talk with our old high school coach, Hank Tierney, who's done a research at our high school. And I can't thank you enough for agreeing to be a co-host for that. And I'm sure we're going to have a few more surprises in store with you in season 3.
Super, super excited about that. I think that's going to be a game changer for the podcast. I really do.
I agree, man. That's going to be some views there. So I'm looking forward to that. Jimmy, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you stopping by in the pocket with us a little bit, brother.
You got it, man. Definitely nice meeting you.
Take care, my man.
Bless you guys. Take
Love
care.
you.
Bye now.
Okay, bye-bye. So how about that, Kathleen?
That was awesome. Love it. A little drop in.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think we got somebody else on line 3 here that wants to drop in. Let's just add him to the show here right now. You ready?
Ready.
This is Kathleen. Kathleen's our marketing director for the show. And this is my son, Seth. And we want to welcome into the show right now, dropping by in the pocket is the star of season 2, episode 1, Mr. Seth Boudoin, who actually is my youngest son. And we really appreciate him chiming into the show today. Seth is a band director at Ray High School in Ray, Colorado. And what's the temperature over there right now, Seth?
Cold. Let's see. Oof. It was like 20 something this morning. Then it kind of went up to the 45s around noon. But since the suns went down, it probably backed out to, I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the 20s again.
So, Seth, I appreciate you chiming in right now. Kathleen Tapia is our co host today, and Kathleen is actually interviewing me about doing a recap of season 2 with some questions. And I just had one of our other guests, Jimmy Hintz, chime in for a little bit, and I appreciate you calling in. What I wanted to do is just basically ask you about your experience of being on the show and, and what you got out of it.
Yeah. I remember when I was on the show, first thing that caught me off was not caught me off, but like that I noticed was how professional it was. It was a fun time, and just the flow felt very nice. I never felt like I was caught off guard at any point with any blindsided questions or anything like that. And just honestly, it was just a fun time with Dad and Astro Joe Garcia back when he was our co-host for that episode.
He sure was.
And man, I just gotta say, like it was just a good time to just talk, and the time flew before we even noticed.
Right, it sure did. And Astro Joe was a great co-host, man. He admires what you've done in your journey. And just to recap, so everybody knows, Seth is from New Orleans as well. Went to Holy Cross High School, where he was a drumline captain, and went to LSU, and he was a drumline captain as well, playing tenors. And he graduated, what, Seth, 3 years ago now?
Yeah, this so I
Yeah,
got
3 years ago now.
spring of 23. So coming up in May, it'll be 3 full years.
Yeah, so and led his journey to being a band director at Ray High School in Ray, Colorado. And his wife, she was actually in the Golden Band from Tigerland as well, and she graduated from LSU as well. And she's teaching at the same school as Seth as a science teacher as well. So they've been together for quite a while, and can't be more proud to have her as my daughter-in-law. I love her very much. Have you gotten any feedback on the show from friends and things like that that have caught it?
Well, funny you mentioned that. I actually had a couple students of mine catch wind of the show. And it was really funny because I'm just here thinking like, man, what did I say on that show that they should not have heard? And one of my students was like, Mr. B. They call me Mr. B. It's just my last name, but they say, Mr. B, I didn't know you could curse. And it was just, I'm pretty sure my boss also watched the episode, which was funny. Is my the vice principal. So one of my bosses
Right.
caught the video, and actually one of my students, I said like a little saying about like how my job is to teach and the subject is music, and she actually for my birthday she made like a little poster that she drew, little seventh grader, of that quote with like a bunch of LSU stuff all around it. So that was really cool.
How cool. That is cool, man.
Yeah.
So, Seth, Kathleen is actually our marketing director and contracted her to do some work for us. We're in the process of doing a brand refresh. She came over and did a photo shoot with me and heck, about 8 other people. So she's leading that effort right now, and she's actually going to be the first episode of season 3 guest where we're going to be talking about AI and things like that. So looking forward to that. So Kathleen, did you have any questions for Seth with anything?
Yeah. So, okay. So you're a band director now.
Hmm.
What would you go back and tell yourself when you started band now that you have all the knowledge that you have?
Whew.
Good
Something
question.
that I st-
No, I said good question.
so I would definitely tell myself to learn other instruments before graduating. I started learning a bunch of instruments after I graduated. So, like, I play tenor sax now. I also play trombone. I also play trumpet. I also play baritone, and a little bit of oboe. But I wish I would have learned all these instruments and others more in college. I had the opportunity to. which is the thing. That's what I really want to tell myself is you have this golden opportunity, these free instruments just waiting to be practiced on. But I was so dead set controlled on percussion that I didn't get all of what I could have out of those instruments. So that's something I would tell myself is A, go back, go look at those other instruments. You won't regret it. It's one of the hugest things you can do. And then just it ain't easy, but keep it up.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another one.
It's funny because, like, during those times when you're in school, it's like, okay, I wanna play, like, drums, I wanna play the, saxophone, and people are very, like, I don't tunnel vision, I guess, but you're right, all those free instruments, and like they say, it's, like, the best time of your life, but while you're in it, you just don't think about that.
Yeah, it's an old funny quote, like you never know the good things you have until you lose it, kind of thing. And like
I
now, luckily, as of being a band director, I have access to all those free instruments again. I got to get to the point where I got to stay better than my kids because some of these kids learn so quickly that they will start to pass me up anytime soon. So it keeps me on my toes.
Awesome.
Yes, indeed. Seth, I got to tell you, I'm going to drop dime on Kathleen here. Her husband is actually one of the best keyboard players I've ever seen or played with that's not part of a touring professional band. He is amazing.
Gotta stop that because his ego's too big already.
He is really good. And Kathleen is also a keyboard player as well. So I'm
Ooh.
dropping dime on her a little bit. So anyway, so Seth, I know you're on a tight schedule here, and I really appreciate you coming in to chime in here. And do you have any last words for us for the audience for the podcast for us?
Watch In the Pocket with JayBo.
Yeah, right on. How about that? Good job, man. Well, stay warm there in Colorado. And son, thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Kathleen, there's no other guests calling in today. So that's what we
Okay, yeah,
had.
you're very popular today.
How about that? I tried to get Becky to come on, but of course my wife won't do it. She just gave me this crazy look. I'm never going to
Well, we
stop
got
working
her
on
in the
that, though.
photo.
Right,
She's
that's
in the
true.
photo.
Let me get,
That's all that I care about.
we got it right here. That's what counts right
There
there.
you go.
And a little
Funny.
queso. Why don't we get back to our questions that you had for me? Because
Let's
man,
do it.
I enjoy answering these questions. So go for it.
Yeah. Okay, what was the funniest or most unexpected thing that happened while recording this season?
Okay, so in episode 4, I interviewed these two ladies who very accomplished in the oil field, Vivian Jordan and Lisa Hunt, and they were amazing. The topic of the show was women succeeding in a male-dominated oil field industry. And I was asking them questions, certain topics, and then Vivian just got fired up for a second. She just said, "You know what? Sometimes I'm the only woman in the room. And if you're wrong, so what? Who cares? You're only going to learn by doing it." I was like, okay, wow, that was awesome. So both of these ladies are just wonderful people, very, very accomplished. They really surprised me with some of the stories that they had. And then because I was in the oil field in the late 70s, early 80s, because my father owned an industrial x-ray company. And really the only women you see were secretaries and things like every now and then you'd see a woman working in the shop or something like that. They were tough as nails. And these ladies, they experienced some of that stuff in the 80s and the 90s and what they had to persevere through some things. And, they got to go through, people flirting with them and not taking them as serious, and to see their demeanor and the character that they showed and the stories that they were telling me was very eye-opening, very interesting. And but when Vivian said that, it was funny, but it was so true. It's so what if you're wrong? Everybody's wrong. That's how you learn, And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. So
No,
that was really cool.
that was, like, my favorite episode this season. I loved that one. They
Yeah.
were strong ladies, so it was
Yes,
really cool.
indeed. Yes,
It's
indeed. And
so cool with the podcast how you get to talk to so many different people that might have not otherwise had a platform to speak about these things, so that's what's really cool about it.
when I talked to both of them and gave them the idea of what I had with this, well, I talked to Vivian first because I know Vivian. And then Vivian told me, said, Jay, my friend Lisa is from Oklahoma and she grew up in the drilling industry. I'm like, oh, perfect, perfect. And we had a pre-show conversation, and I was so impressed with Lisa as well. And I thought the show was fantastic. I got a lot of compliments on it from people. It may not be my highest viewed show, but it's one of those shows that I'm really proud that we did. And I got a two-part answer for this because the one that we published actually last week on boundaries was with my coworker Randy Nine, which coincidentally was on episode 9, which is pretty funny. And her last name's Nine, Nine, and she's an attorney. And my co-host on it was one of my colleagues, Nancy Hatley, who I always say of the Florida Hatleys. And they did amazing, but we talked about boundaries, and man, we were laughing every 10 minutes or so. We were cracking up laughing about boundary stories, personal and professional. So it was really interesting and fun. So that's a two-part answer to that question.
Love that. Who was the guest that caught you off guard in a good way?
Probably, I think it was episode 7 with Daryl Cajun Santani. And speaking of Archbishop Shaw High School alumni, Daryl graduated a year before me at Archbishop Shaw High School, and he retired as a commander, Navy flight officer and aviator in the United States Navy. And, I was in Navy as well. And Daryl accomplished a lot when he was in, and the stories he shared were just amazing. When I recently authored a book called "So You Think You Want to Be a Pilot, the Gouge," and he sent the book, and I just called him and said, "Hey, would you have some interest in coming on the podcast? And man, let's promote your book." And he's like, "Jay, are you serious?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'm serious, man. Let's do this." And we got one of our good friends, Troy Cotton, who you heard about earlier when we were talking to Jimmy. Troy was in an episode from season 1 and very high views, and he lives about 5 minutes from me as well. Graduated from Archbishop Shaw High School. And Daryl's book, about a week before we recorded the podcast, went to #1 on the aviation biography category and on Amazon. That was just, I was like, holy cow, we got a #1 selling author that's going to be in the podcast. So you talk
Awesome.
about the foundation of our show, as you know, Kathleen, is everyday people with everyday stories or extraordinary stories. And man, from somebody that barely graduated high school, went through college through the hard knocks way, just an amazing story, and ended up getting accepted into flight school in the Navy. Dad had to go to the refinery he was working at, get him off of a ladder, tell him, "Go get your butt cleaned up." The guy said, "He's got a spot for you. You go home, get cleaned up, and get your butt over there." And he was sworn in, I think, a day later. But he ended up authoring this book. And what I like about reading a book like that is, with knowing Daryl, I could hear his voice while I was reading the book. So the big surprise to me, which was almost put a little pressure on me, I put the pressure on me, is that, man, I'm interviewing a #1 best-selling author on my podcast. So that was
You
pretty,
better.
yeah, that was cool stuff right there. And I'm really glad our buddy Troy was on, because Troy's always good for a comedic moment and a story to lighten the mood. And he was fantastic, and it really helped Daryl and I with everything. But Daryl had a hell of a story, and man, he's just very successful, and he owns a flight school now, and he's writing a second book. So You Think You Want to Be an Entrepreneur, and that's going to be coming out, I think, next year. So we'll be doing a special on that one as well. So, and Daryl lives about 5 or 10 minutes away as well. He was episode 7. So that did catch me off guard when we got news
Yeah,
on that.
love that. It's so cool to see how, y'all went to the same school, but how many different paths people took. It's very cool.
And it's crazy because none of us were really like the highest of honor students or anything. If anything, we were kind of just getting by, but we had a lot of hard knocks with a lot of my friends. But we've all stayed in contact. Either, we might have been arm's length friends or tight friends or whatever, not necessarily all in the same circles, but there's always that connection because of school, or, through things we did in high school.
Love that. What's something listeners would be surprised to learn about the making of this season?
That we did a transition with going to interviewing people and getting our feet wet on some things, to, again, just talking about the subjects. It's very, very grassroots. When I was having the ideas of the podcast, I was listening to the songs, and I'm in a band, I play bass, and one of my favorite one of my favorite groups is Sly and the Family Stone, which is in a picture behind me. You can't see it right now, but his song "Everyday People" was on, and I'm like, "Everyday People? Hell yeah!" I'm like, "That's it right there, everyday people." And that was really how I got the idea of the theme for the show because anybody can have a podcast, but what am I going to talk about? So to have that theme of everyday people talking about everyday subjects or extraordinary stories really resonated with me into something that could be something as a cool hobby. And I really enjoy it, but it's really about the grassroots of everything. Like I said, it's just a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying I've learned so much talking to so many people. And some of these are people I've known quite a long time. Some people I haven't known that long. But I've already got season 3 filled up. I'm already working on 2 or 3 in season 4 already. So that's really cool. You know, it's provided me a window to rekindle some old friendships, meet some new people, and work with some new people like yourself. So, and naturally, I just like talking to people if you can't tell that by now. And people that have
No,
known me for a long time people that have known me for a long time know that, and to be able to contribute some things to my, high school and give kinda give back a little bit in a way really is a really proud thing that I'm working on, and to be able to share that with some of old friends and the nostalgia thing that we have tied to it is it really makes me feel good. It's one of those things that, like I've told my boys for years, if you're doing something and you enjoy it, you're more apt to be successful at it. And believe me, 61-year-old Jay is a lot wiser than 31-year-old Jay, no doubt about that. So, anyway, so that's my answer to that one.
that's awesome. And a lot of people don't know how much work it can be to sit and record and do all of that. So which episode this season was the hardest to edit and record? Make sure you get it.
I'm gonna give you another two-part answer there, and it's just the one we did on managing mental health because that was with two former coworkers, Marty Cox and Brian Bloom, did the co-hosting on it with me, and we were colleagues at an offshore service company for quite a few years together. Marty was dealing with some issues, and Brian and I were talking to him, trying to help him through some things. So that was one of my first really serious episodes, I want to say. I did research watching not so much at Johnny Carson, but I watched like an old Phil Donahue doing some interviews, and it gave me some ideas with some things. So real quick, I'm going to touch on the research. Hours and hours and hours of research, watching Johnny Carson's, watching some Phil Donahue's, watching some old school stuff because my target audience is, the like I had stated earlier, Gen Jones and the Gen Xers and the older millennials. So I want to be able to reach that crowd with the style that I'm using, but still be myself, be Jay. And so with that, doing that episode, I wanted to make sure it came across as we had a couple laughs, of course, along the way, but it's a really serious subject. And I think the title of the episode was Xers Managing Your Mental Health Soonest. And man, he brought up some things that were hardcore that he was
Yeah.
experiencing. So when I was editing the show, I wanted to make sure it came across as A, professional, B, it showed the authenticity of our conversation that we were having and that we stayed on track with making sure that if this helps one person, it's worth it. I know that's a cliche statement, but if it helps one person, it's worth it. And when Marty had talked to me about being on the podcast, I'm like, well, what are we going to talk about? Because you need to have a subject. And he brought up what he dealt with that. And I'm like, are you sure you want to talk about that? Absolutely, Jay. No doubt. I want to share my story. If it helps one person, man, it's worth the whole thing. That was really, really cool to be able to do that. And I think it
Love
came
that
across, I
one.
was good.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that was another one that I really loved because there's not too many spaces where there are men talking about mental health. It's kind of become this taboo topic that people don't talk about. So it was really cool to see y'all dive into that.
And look,
And on
this guy was a commercial diver. He dove
yeah,
offshore and, overseas. Tough guy. So to be able to talk about those subjects is it's for him in the oil field, offshore oil field is that catches your attention because believe you me, and I know there's a lot of guys out there, not just guys, women too, struggling with this, and there's ways to help yourself, and we wanted to get that word out. So I think we accomplished it.
And on that note, did any guests this season inspire you to look at your own life or work differently?
Hell yeah. And it was with I think it was episode 2. I'm looking over to the side here. Episode 2 with a longtime friend, Chris Kelly. Chris did a lifestyle change at 50 years old, and Chris is a couple of years older than I am. And I've been knowing Chris for 2, 3 decades now. And we grew up in the same area. And Chris was kind of just, hey man, you could always see him at the bar like Cheers or something like that,
Yeah.
and going there where everybody knows your name. And we played a lot of golf together. And he's just the greatest wingman to hang out with and just drink beer and talk smack and all that stuff. And when he was around 50, he just did a total lifestyle change and got involved in martial arts. And his journey led him to be a two-time Masters world champion in jiu-jitsu, and just an amazing accomplishment that he did in his late 50s. And it improved his marriage, it improved his work, it improved everything in his life. And the story he shared, and I was right there with him when he was going through a lot of this transformation. I'd known him before and after. We were working out in the same gym in New Orleans before my wife and I moved to Houston here about 6 years ago. And he's been training with the guy who was Mr. Universe in 1982, I want to say, Jimmy Gobert. So he trains with a former Mr. Universe. He still does jujitsu, martial arts to this day. And I think Chris is 63, but the lifestyle change he did, there were other stories behind the scenes that I wasn't aware of. And it really just kind of stuck in my mind. It's like, man, what an inspirational cat this dude is. And it had me rethink some things that I'm doing as far as my nutrition and working out. And not just that, I'm gonna go back to the other episode, the mental fitness of things, which also steps towards that goal of Ronald George said in that episode of, I want to add life to my years. So I promise you, Chris added life to his years that he's got left, and two very accomplished children, a wonderful wife. They've been married probably 30, 35 years, and just he's got a wonderful family. They got a great life, but it took a lot of hard work, and for him to do that life transformation at about 50 years old when the kids were still kind of young and in school, and his wife was doing her own career, and he's been a partner in a marine oriented company for a long time. So for him to do that was really inspirational to me, and to share his story was just a blessing. So just very, very cool stuff. And that goes back to what I said, Kathleen. I've learned so much about different things with different people.
That's awesome. Never too late to pick up something new and, try to improve yourself for sure.
An old dog can learn new tricks, that's for sure.
No walking one trick. There you go. Was there an episode that you didn't expect to resonate as much as it did with the audience?
I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna answer that with not so much an episode, but with some short videos that I post. And both of them surprised the heck out of me. One of them is with my son, Seth, who was just on here. And on his podcast, I got a reel out of it of less than a minute. And he talks about the Fat Boys Pizza Challenge in Baton Rouge when he was at LSU. About how his two of his friends tried to they give you a slice of pizza, but the pizza's like this big, and they cut a big slice out of it. He said, I tried to watch them eat it. They were both in the bathroom. 15 minutes later, ralphing their guts up, and we were dying
No.
laughing. But that reel has gotten over, I think, 2,000 views. It's and he goes, I think he said something like the Fat Boys Pizza Challenge. And Astro Joe and I were like, Fat Boys Pizza. He said, and Seth said, both tried and both failed. And that thing just
No.
blew up with watches. And now Fat Boys Pizza follows me, and I follow them, and they make comments, and I make comments with them. Just again, I started a podcast. One reel my son did. Now I love the people at Fat Boys Pizza in Baton Rouge.
Yeah,
So,
friends for life.
oh my God, just cool stuff. And the second part of the answer there, I'm sorry, I'm giving you a lot of two-part answers here.
That's okay.
The second one is a old friend from New Orleans. Brennan Rojas just did a reel for me, and he just did a shout out basically. And again, this is on the foundation of everyday people. I just ask friends, hey, give me a shout out if you would. Just hold your camera vertical when you do it. And he did one for me, and he's like, hey, people, I got an important announcement. My buddy Jay Boudoin's got a podcast, In the Pocket with JayBo. Kathleen, over 3,000 views right now on Facebook. It is hilarious. And, it's just, he's actually going to be in a episode in season 3 that is going to be talking about the nightlife in New Orleans in the 80s when we were growing up. So I can tell you that that's going to be crazy. And I'm going to
Fun.
have a co-host for that, Theron Vincent, and Theron's a longtime friend as well. And he was on that episode that we did with the celebration of our friend's life, Truck Email. So Theron's going to co-host that one with us, and that one's going to be really, really popular with some people back in the home city in New Orleans. I can tell you that. That's a lot of nostalgia on that one, and a lot of funny stories. That might require some editing. I don't know.
It's so cool how you already have so many guests lined up. Like you've become this hot commodity podcaster.
What's funny, because it's a bi-monthly podcast, I do it in the evenings. I do have a full-time job that I love, and I work with some amazing people, but this is just something I do in the evenings and on the weekends, and I just need something to do. The band's been on cruise control, so I have a little extra time, and both my boys have, obviously graduated and moved on with their life, so it's just my wife and I and our little dog Queso, who you know. And so it gives me something to do, which I like keeping busy. I love talking to people. So it's just something that really fits good with JayBo and my stage name. And again, I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, it's been a lot of fun watching it too. What are some lessons from season 2 that you're taking with you into the new season?
Most probably trying to rely on technology a little bit more versus the old pen and paper thing all the time. I think that's going to help me out quite a bit. Also, with you being on the team now has been a big plus. You really helped me out significantly, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being a part of the journey with us and going forward. You've educated me on quite a few things to help me streamline the effort here with what we're doing. So the lessons learned is it's not about the guests, because I have quite a few people asking me now. I'm just like, okay, well, we got to have something to talk about. What are we going to talk about? That's the big thing. And because a lot of these people have, I think, personalities that are great for a podcast, and we'll figure those out. But that's the easy part. Doing the podcast is the easy part. It's the editing. I think I've made a lot of positive strides in it, and I'm learning more and more about the program I'm using and shortcuts and how to do this and that. And look, being on 10 different social media platforms requires some discipline and focus, and making
Yeah.
sure you don't do something on one where you should be doing it on the other, and all that type of stuff. So it can be cumbersome, but to be have a strategy with your time after normal working hours, of course, and being able to plant things with people. Just the whole process is really getting streamlined, and I'm more acclimated to it. So that's really the big lesson learned, is just, and like my buddy Astro Joe says, you got to get your hands dirty and figure it out. And
Yeah.
that's what I think, I've been able to do. And I really want to give him props, because when I was starting it out, man, I was like the blind leading the blind. I didn't know any I wasn't on any social media sites
Yeah.
except for Facebook. That's it. I didn't know anything about anything else. So it's just hours and hours and hours of studying, and YouTube has been my best friend. YouTube has been my best friend.
University. Yeah. I mean, there's so many people out there that could probably also start a podcast, but they think it has to be perfect the first time. And
No,
that's not the case. You figure it out as you go and you fine tune it. And that's exactly what you've been doing. And it's been great to.
I'll tell you what, I'm really proud to say that a lot of the statistical data that I've seen is a lot of podcasts kind of die out after 3 or 4 episodes,
Fun.
and I think I've seen 85 to 90% of them. So we're just wrapping up season 2 with 20 episodes, and I've already got the next 10 filled out for season 3. And I feel really happy about where we are with things and the direction that we're going. I feel a lot of positivity, and that's one thing I want this show to have is positive vibes. Positive vibes. There's no political discussion. I'm not going to have any of that crap. If you want that, go sit down and watch the news. But we're not doing that. We're doing fun stuff. We're doing some serious talk, a lot of self-help, storytelling, and lessons learned. And like the old Fat Albert cartoon when I was a kid, if you're not careful, you might learn something, you know?
Yeah, I love it. Well, it's been so awesome to see how it's grown. Like I've told you before, your analytics for your platforms are really doing well. You're skyrocketing up there. So if we can see the same projection for the new season, it's going to be awesome. We're rocking and rolling.
Well, I appreciate it, and I don't know if skyrocket's the word, but at least it's going forward and positive, and that's really all I can ask for. It's a function of the people that's been a part of the show, in front of the camera and behind the scenes as well. And I really want to thank my wife Becky for supporting me. She's been outstanding, although she won't come on camera. She's been great. I love her so much, and she's been awesome. My 2 sons. My sister's another one, Dawn. She won't come on camera, but actually, you got a picture of her the other day, though.
Yep, that been our photo.
So everybody's been extremely supportive. Jerry, she's been awesome with supporting me with a lot of the commercial art in the beginning with things. So again, it's been a village effort. I'm only the one in front of the camera that gets the accolades and gets the criticism and all that good stuff, but I can handle it. And talking about the camera and taking pictures the other day, we are, like I said earlier, let's cover this real quick before we wrap up, is we are in the process of doing a brand refresh right now, and you're in charge of that effort, Kathleen. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what to expect coming up
Yeah.
here soon?
Yeah, so I was really excited when you talked to me about the logo refresh. So I think the only things you told me were black, gold, and maybe a retro vibe if I can do it.
Right.
So I gave you 3 logos today to look at, which I tried to encapsulate that vibe, also try to give a nod to Louisiana, also have, some inclusion with your bass guitar there and a few of them. And it was really fun coming up with these graphics and like the fonts that I wanted to use. You let me have a lot of creativity with that. So it was really cool.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be launching the new brand, a refresh for season 3 and mid-December. We'll decide on that when we have a board meeting. And but I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I want to let everybody know the intro and outro music for the show. That awesome keyboard playing you hear was done by Kathleen's husband, Andres, and man, I love his work on that. I love the show's music. So when y'all hear that music during episodes, that's Andres Tapia. That's Kathleen's husband. Man, what a great job he did on that too. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, we just love what you're doing. And watching y'all being in the band has been so fun and so meaningful to me as well.
Well, I guess we need to wrap things up here. We've been on here long enough and conclude our wrap up of season 2. I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show and being the interviewer, and I'm the interviewee for this. And we definitely look forward to having you on the first episode of season 3, which will be dropping in probably mid-January, and we'll be recording it late December. So really looking forward to that discussion on AI. That's going to be a lot of fun. And no co-host or anything. It's just going to be Kathleen and I just talking about AI and what's going on. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot. I may have to have my pen and paper ready to take some notes during that show, but
I
we'll
hope
get it
so.
done. So again, Kathleen, thank you so much for taking your time to do this today. And you have any last words for anybody out there?
Keep watching JayBo. Keep tuning in to the seasons. We're having a lot of fun and it's just going to keep growing from here.
Roger that. And don't you guys forget, please follow or subscribe. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on X, TikTok. I'm naming all of them now. Let's see, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, what else? Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. I don't think I caught that one earlier. We're on
We advertise on Instagram, TikTok, X. So we're all over the place. You can't miss us. All you got to do is look for us in the pocket with JayBo. So as I end all the shows right now, Kathleen, I'm just going to say we'll catch you on the flip side, baby, next time for flip side. I love that. And we'll see you soon in January for season 3, episode 1.
See you then.
Thanks, Kathleen.
All right.
Bye.